Hi, this is Andrea Carey with the North Carolina Coalition to End Homelessness Data Center, and today's training is Introduction to HMIS Data Entry, Part 6, Updating SubAssessments. It's one thing to know what needs to be changed about a client's record. It's another thing to know how to record it accurately in HMIS. This training will help us do that. We'll start off with some reminders about SubAssessments, and also review how to update SubAssessments in 3 different situations. When the line items change from a no to a yes response, when a line item changes from a yes to a different yes amount, and when a line item changes from a yes to a no. There are some different steps for each of these examples, so we'll go through those in detail. We'll also finish up with some common mistakes to avoid. Updating SubAssessments. Remember from our Project Start training that subassessments are a type of question in HMIS that require more details. Disabling condition, health insurance, income, and non-cash benefits are the most common. Income changes the most often during a client's stay, so we'll use that as our example. Enter data as mode and backdate mode are even more important for accurate updates here. Updating subassessments is where most of the mistakes in HMIS happen. Let's avoid these together. These 3 steps are still important for updating subassessments. If the gateway is set, the yes details are entered, and the HUD verification is green, your subassessment is complete. The steps to make sure that these are all complete depend on your client's situation. We'll review the different scenarios together that can guide you. Let's start with an update from a no to a yes response. We will use income as an example for the different ways to update subassessments because it is the most common change. These steps apply to the other subassessments as well. If the client has no income at Project Start but is now receiving income at Project Interim, meaning they increased from 0, here are the steps. 1. Change the gateway question from no to yes. 2. Do not change the previous no response in the line item. In the income subassessment, this is the receiving income source question. In disabilities, it's the disability determination question. Add the new yes line item and do not change the HUD verification. Starting with step 1, change the general gateway question from no to yes. An easy drop down. Here we have found the no response that is not accurate anymore. In our example, this is the retirement income beginning on January 1st, 2019. Do not change the previous no response in the detail table. The next step is to add the new yes response detail. Once you've clicked the Add button, you'll be able to fill in all the details. Here, the client is now getting $336 of retirement income from Social Security. We still need to confirm the yes response through this question, receiving income source. Then confirm the start date is the date of your Project Interim, the date you used for backdate mode. This is the date you learned of this change. Then we need to save this new yes detail. Now the new yes response is saved and added to the detail table. Lastly, do not change the HUD verification. Look at how the gateway question aligns with the income detail. Both say yes, and the HUD verification is green. So you're done. Our client that had no income at Project Start now has an accurate, updated amount of income for January 18th. The next example is for changing a line item from yes to no. Again, we'll use income for this example since it's the most common change. If the client had income at Project Start but has now lost that income at Project Interim, meaning income goes to 0, here are the steps. 1. Change the gateway question from yes to no. 2. Edit the previous response's earned income line item. Do not change the receiving income response, and end date the day before the change. 3. Do not add another earned income line item. 4. Go to the HUD verification to record the no response. We begin with the first step. Change the gateway question from yes to no. The gateway question sits on top of the detail table and shows a yes response at first. Change the drop-down to no. This signifies that the client no longer has income from any source. Next, edit the previous response's detail. The subassessment detail table can have several pages. If you don't immediately see the response you need to edit, click the Next button. When you find the yes response that needs to be updated, select the pencil icon next to the responses row. Here, we're editing the previous TANF income that was on the last page of the table. Clicking the pencil opens a pop-up window. You'll see that the details show a yes for receiving income. Do not change the receiving income response. Instead, add an end date for the day before the change. We collected this data on and backdated to January 18th, 2019. So the end date for this yes response is January 17th, 2019. Now this shows that the client received $250 in TANF income between January 1st and January 17th, 2019. Save this change to the previous response's detail. Now you can see the yes response has been updated to include an end date. Do not use the Add button now to add a new detail. Instead, notice that the HUD verification is now red and incomplete. This is because the previous response ended yesterday. On today's date, January 18th, 2019, there is no response for TANF income. So we'll fix that. Go now to the HUD verification to record the new no response. The HUD verification pop-up window shows the TANF income as incomplete. Change the response to no to show that the client lost this income. Then click Save and Exit. Now the HUD verification is complete. The next example is for when a line item changes from one yes response to another yes response. If the client has income at project start but now has a different amount of that same income at project interim. Here are the steps. 1. Do not change the gateway question. 2. Edit the previous response line item. Do not change receiving income source response. Add an end date for the day before the change. 3. Add the new yes line item. 4. Do not change the HUD verification. The first response can remain the same. Do not change the gateway question. Find the previous yes response line item and click on the pencil. If it does not appear in the table at first, click on the Next button to search through the responses. Once you are in the previous response's detail, do not change receiving income source response. This remains true. Instead, add an end date for the day before the data was collected. This will also be the day before your backdate mode. Here, we learned of the change of income on January 18th, so the end date is for the previous amount on January 17th. Then click Save. Now the previous income ended for the day before. One tool to help confirm this change is View Gross Income. Click on that. Right now, HMIS currently thinks our client has $0 in income because we've backdated to January 18th and ended the client's previous income for the day before, January 17th. But we'll continue to the next step to change that. Add the new yes detail by clicking on the Add button in the bottom left-hand corner. Now we have a clean slate to add the new details about this income, the current total amount. We've added $600 of VA service-connected disability compensation. Also confirm that this is a yes response in the Receiving Income Source section. The start date is automatically our backdate mode, which is exactly where we want it. Click Save. Our gateway question now matches the detail response below. Even better, we did not change the HUD verification, and it's now green again. We also know that our dates for our income responses do not overlap because when we select View Gross Income, our monthly income is accurate at $600. This is why we ended the previous response the day before our current backdate. No overlaps, just new totals. Errors are common in this area, and please don't hesitate to ask for help. Here are a few of the most common errors to avoid. First off, EDA and backdate modes are very important to this process. Missing EDA and backdate is the most common error generally, so we haven't listed it here, but remember to double check before beginning your interim. Subassessments are not historical. The dates and the details reflect when information was collected. For example, if it's a couple weeks since the client's health insurance changed, but you only learned about it today, you'll base the interim update and the subassessment changes on today's date. Where and when you learn this difference could be anywhere. Data may have been collected during meetings with the client, unit inspections, informal updates, or classes and events. Client meetings, when you check on their progress and support with problem solving, are where these updates are identified most often. By the end of your updates, the gateway and the type or source questions should correspond. Mismatching the gateway and type and source is a common typo. For example, a no to income in general does not align with a type or source table that contains a yes for earned income. Similarly, a yes for non-cash benefits in general does not align with a type or source table that contains all no responses. To summarize, subassessments like health insurance, income, non-cash benefits may change during a client's enrollment in your project. Changes can be made at interim, exits, and follow-up data collection points and should reflect a seamless timeline of responses for every detailed question. Thank you for watching. You have just completed the Introduction to HMIS Data Entry Training, Part 6, Updating Subassessments.